Hi folks, it's Richard Miller again with Facts for Working People, one of the authors on this blog. And I just wanted to say a few words about some of the things that have been on my mind the last day or two. One of them is this whole situation with Iran. I mean, there is a real potential for some major crisis. I'm not just talking about what we see almost daily, but if there is a war with Iran, and the recent statements by Pompeo and the pulling out of what was an international agreement by the US and by Trump administration could lead to some real severe consequences. William Galston writing in the and the American bourgeois are concerned about it. The more astute, conscious sections of the American ruling class would like to be rid of Trump. They don't know how to get rid of Trump. It's that not because they care about Trump, but because they care about the institutions themselves. They don't want to undermine what is already an undermined political and economic system. Politically, the phony idea of free elections, bourgeois democracy, and all of this, the integrity of the presidency, and blah blah blah. Every American knows they're all a bunch of liars and crooks up there. So they don't know quite what to do with it. Galston, William Galston in the Wall Street Journal today says, writing about Iran, he says, "We are on a path that could lead to war with Iran. The administration had better consult Congress and the American people before it reaches the point of no return." Well, I don't know about anybody listening to this, but I wasn't fat chance of them consulting Congress. They're no different to the rulers in Iran. They're dictators. Secondly, I don't think the American people have been consulted on Iraq, on Afghanistan, on Grenada, on Panama, on any of its Somalia. We have a war against terror. Terrorism is a tactic. It's never ending. You can't declare war on a tactic, so they've got a free reign. Any group that's labelled, that the US labels a terrorist, that's it. When I left England, it was Northern Ireland Catholics that were terrorists, not Muslims. And so they've offered they've offered Iran a deal that they know that they cannot accept. They want them to pull in other words, to completely withdraw from any sphere of influence beyond its borders in a region of the world where it's been for one of the oldest countries, nation states, whatever, for thousands of years. Hasn't invaded anybody in thousands of years. And it's by the Persian Gulf, by the way, where the US has tons of bases. And it's called the Persian Gulf because it's near Persia. And so Iran cannot accept this. And they know that. What they want is regime change. Pompeo said yesterday, that talking about he said at the end of the day, the Iranian people will get to make a choice about their leadership. If they make the decision quickly, that would be wonderful. Now, they're talking about the Russians affecting our elections. What the hell is that? The most powerful military and economic force in history, telling the Iranian people basically, get rid of your leaders and things will be better. That's on the one hand. With North Korea, and I don't support the North Korean regime, it's a dictatorial regime and what have you. But in Korea, Trump said last night on the television that North Korea will be rich if they do what we want them to do. Of course, then the threat then is we'll blow you to bits. And yesterday, I think it was in the paper that they'll find prosperity. Well, the US can't bring prosperity to Kansas, Puerto Rico, West Virginia. It can't bring prosperity to North Korea, believe me. There's 43 million people in poverty here. There's people homeless. There's people that most bankruptcies through medical care. Education, public education is in a crisis, and many in the higher levels, workers can't even afford public education. So this is nonsense that they can, and the people of the world know it. But it's really a dangerous situation. Why would Iran or North Korea, they shouldn't give up the atom bomb, it's the nuclear weapons, it's the only deterrent against the US aggression. So why would Iran give up? Why would Iran do what Pompeo wants? You've got the Israelis who have got God knows how many nuclear weapons. It's a completely racist, the Zionists that run it, a completely racist, apartheid-like regime. It's violent. See what it's done to Palestinians who previously their land it stole. Then it's got the Saudis. We supply them with all their weapons, just a little bit less technology than the Israelis, so that the upper hand is kept there. They just bought about $28 billion worth of weapons of mass destruction. Why would the Iranians want to weaken themselves in this regard? The Saudis are destroying Yemen and what have you. So that's the situation. But the real danger is that they don't make all these nuclear weapons never to use them. They've been a deterrent for years, in a sense, which is why we've seen so many regional wars and what have you. No country other than the United States, and no party other than the Democratic Party, one of the largest and most influential bourgeois parties in the world, has used nuclear weapons against urban populations, of course, during the Second World War. That was a little test to warn the Stalinists and the Maoists in China and everybody else, look what we've got. Japan was a defeated nation. But there's no guaranteeing they won't use them. We put something on the blog not long ago about what a minor war between Pakistan, or a nuclear war between minor players, Pakistan and India, would have tragic consequences for the world. The cloud, the dust, the radiation and everything else. So we have that situation, and I think one of the reasons this sort of thing can go on, to be quite honest with you, is the American working class is nowhere to be seen. Now, I'm not being overly pessimistic here. We've had some great developments, the teacher struggles. The Standing Rock was a huge battle that was lost, but a huge heroic battle, civil war really. Black Lives Matter. There have been other examples around water, the river in Flint and other urban centres. The river that was poisoned over there in I think it was Virginia this time, and I think the guy that did jail time for that is running for. I might have another thing there, but that's not right. But we have these. Struggles going on, but in the main, the American working class, where are they? Part of the reason is that our class consciousness and our class history has been driven backwards. The heroic nature of the civil rights movement, the rise of the CIO, the early unions, with all of their faults. These were tremendous uprisings, great class wars against oppression and against the most ruthless of all the world's bourgeois. This has all been hidden. The other side of it is we live in the belly of the beast here. The media is extremely powerful. It's never-ending sale job. The news, there's a war in Puerto Rico going on. A huge struggle to save education and against austerity and starvation and everything else. You wouldn't know it. I live in America. I live on the West Coast. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it to watch the news. You would have no idea. If I wasn't political, a union activist, and maintained my political way of life, most people would not know there's anything going on in Puerto Rico of that nature at all. And so part of that problem is that the American working class doesn't know. It's not conscious, not only of its own history. It doesn't know that the US overthrew the government of Iran in 1953, and the reason you've got the mullahs is because the US overthrew Iran, put in a dictator, slaughtered every opposition, and you got the mullahs. That's as simple. Guatemala the same year. So the American working class is not present, and unfortunately, we talk about this on our blog. Unfortunately, it looks more and more likely that it will take a great shock. If there's a war with Iran, it will be a major world crisis. But it will take a great shock to drive the American working class onto the scene onto the scene, and to take the historic task that the role and the task that history has set for it. And despite the fact that the industrial working class has moved east, the old Rust Belt and the industrial working class is not in the main here in the same way that it is in Bangladesh and China and Vietnam, Cambodia, where capitalists have sought cheap labor. You still can't have a socialist revolution. You cannot overthrow capitalism in the global transformation of society without the American working class settling accounts with its own bourgeois, the most ruthless of all of them. And so that's part of the problem. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing, which is sort of related, and that is I see too that Trump has not invited China into some sort of military deals it's doing in the South Pacific, in the Southeast Asian waters with its allies there, and it's doing that to punish China. Now, that sort of makes you laugh. What is the US doing in the South China Sea, or trying to, if it wants to exert its if the international community want to exert their free routes on water, then don't send a battleship through, send a trade ship through. Not only that, the US mined Nicaragua's harbour, and that was the World Court found that to be a crime, and the US doesn't care about things like that. The war against Iraq is a crime against humanity. The US capitalist class cares not about that. It starves its own people. And promising North Korea prosperity, if it does what it says, is a joke. The US can't even bring prosperity to its own people, especially certain areas, West Virginia, as I say, and Puerto Rico and places like that. So these were just a couple of things I wanted to mention, because there really is a potential for a crisis, a severe crisis. The support for ongoing support for Israel. I mean, if you look at those shootings of those children, those people, most of them, or 70% or 80% of them, are the relatives of expelled people. Their villages have now. Tel Aviv used to be Jaffa. How many Americans know that? That's part of the problem here. That we are dumbed down. Our education system, if it's not at the high level where you want to be a brain surgeon, is in crisis. Geography is very, very bad, and our own history is very bad. Merrill Lynch didn't build America. A lot of people died. Ordinary people died building America. The unions weren't built by the mafia or by lawyers. They were built by ordinary, hard-working people. So these are a few things I wanted to get off my chest. The last thing I wanted to say is I did send an appeal out for some money. Our blog now is getting, as I say, between 30 and 40,000 views a month. We are buying ads of articles, or spreading of articles to different countries and regions, depending, like we've been helping publicize about the struggle in Puerto Rico. That's cost us money. I put out an appeal about that. There's other things that do. I don't want to spend much more time on it. But there's other. I put out an appeal for some money. We got a contribution from an old comrade and friend, and a couple of other contributions. I sent out about 300 or 400. It was on Facebook. We had it on our blog. We need some help. $5 a month. $10 a month. If we can get people to do that, it's very important to keep our blog going. If you like, in general, what we write, please send us some money through that button on the side there. And the last thing is, I know a lot of people that I was active in the union movement 30 odd years. I never got paid for it. I put a lot of time in. It was my choice, I admit, but I'm not getting rich here. None of us on this blog are getting rich. We put in a lot of time. If you can help us, we need your help. So anyway, that's it for today. Richard Miller, Facts for Working People. Thank you.